Hello YouTube, this is Darkon633, back with another Star Wars review. Today we're going to take a look at the 3 new figures that were released in the Solo A Star Wars storyline from the Force Link 2.0 basic line. Now there are a couple more figures that were released in this wave, but these are the 3 brand new characters, theoretically brand new since Snoke technically isn't a brand new character. But anyways, this is the new figures that are part of the second wave of the basic toy line. Anyways, we'll now take a look at the presentation and contents. To start off with, we're going to take a look at their cards first. Both Snoke and Moloch have some very interesting card designs just because of how big the designs of the characters are. The bubbles are a lot thicker than what you usually used to. It does have a very nice artwork of the character from Moloch there. On the back, nothing too spectacular. It's usually the same thing we see with a lot of the other figures. Next, we're going to take a look at Snoke's, which, as I mentioned earlier, the bubble is definitely on the larger side compared to some other figures. We have a picture of Supreme Leader Snoke there, and on the back, the usual kind of deal once again. Next, we're going to take a look at Leia's, which is the standard design. So this is her in her Hoth outfit, which is actually a very nice figure, which we'll take a look at in a minute. And on the back, it shows the usual stuff. And also, all 3 figures, as I mentioned earlier, are Force Link 2.0 compatible. Now, in terms of accessories, this is where it's kind of like completely varying. And that's because Supreme Leader Snoke has no accessories whatsoever. Leia does have her blaster. And Moloch actually includes technically 3 accessories. But once we take a closer look at this figure, for those who don't know already, you'll see what I mean. So anyways, in terms of presentation and contents, it's kind of a 50-50 deal once again. The figures are nice for what you get in this wave, so I guess I'm going to give it an easy 4.5 stars just because you are technically getting a repeat of a character, but it's nice that we do have a single card release for those who did not want to spend the money on the big BB-8 Playset. So now we're going to move on to the features of these particular figures. First, we're going to take a look at Supreme Leader Snoke, since he's the blandest out of the 3. His head does swivel left and right, but you're not going to get anything else since it's not a ball joint. He does have swivels at the shoulders and swivels at the hips with the fused design. So you're not going to get a whole lot of articulation, obviously, with this particular character. Next, we're going to take a look at Leia. Her head is on a standard ball joint. She does have swivels at the shoulders and swivels at the hips. However, she does have boot rotation, which is kind of pointless in my opinion if you do not have any knee joints to accompany that. But overall, the design is very nice. Then, we're going to take a look at Moloch. He does include the stick, which is pretty much just his main sort of weapon, it looks like. He does include a blaster, which is hidden here on his belt there. You can allow him to hold it, which is a very small little blaster pistol of some sort, so it's a very interesting design, but it is really small, so I think it'll just be safer to just keep it in the holster. In terms of articulation, all you're going to get is head does swivel, but it's kind of more like a face. It does have a molded head underneath, which we'll take a look at in a minute. He does have swivels at the shoulders and swivels at the wrists. You're not going to get any other point of articulation in the legs. It is just a solid piece otherwise. But it is nice that this piece is a separate, softer plastic cloak design. But from what I can tell, because of the way that the arms are placed, there really isn't a way to remove it unless you just remove the arms completely. As I mentioned earlier, you can remove his mask, which does have a very interesting looking alien design underneath. And with that, I think this is a very nice figure. Basically what you're going to do to put it back together, you're going to put on the mask and attach what looks to be a breathing apparatus there. So overall, in terms of features, I think this is a very nice wave, but I still give it a 4.5 stars, just because Snoke really doesn't come with anything, even though it's accurate. And since they are still 5 POA, I think it's very nice for what we got, but obviously it's definitely not the most spectacular wave we got in overall. So in terms of overall value, if you're getting it around the $7.99 price, I give this a 5 out of 5 automatically, because even though the figures themselves may not be the most spectacular things out there, I think they did a very good job with the designs in hand, and at least you're getting a cheap figure rather than spending more for less. And here's a comparison between the 5 POA Snoke in the 2.0 Force Link line and the Vintage Collection Snoke. Now, once again, as I mentioned earlier, articulation is still better on the Vintage Collection version, obviously, but the orbital design, I still kind of give it to the 5 POA just because the robes are in a much better color. Because of that, it is a lot more accurate in my opinion overall. And here's a comparison with the new Leia next to the only original trilogy era Leia that I have, and that is the one from A New Hope. This is the one that was released on the vintage original trilogy card, and in my opinion is one of the best versions of Leia we've gotten so far, at least in super articulated form, which is kind of unfortunate, at least in her A New Hope design. So I think they look nice together. Obviously the head sculpts are drastically different. Even though they came from two different eras, I still think the new one is definitely a better likeness to Carrie Fisher compared to the original design. So hopefully we'll see a much better update of the A New Hope Leia in the near future. So that concludes the review for the second wave of the figures released in the Force Link 2.0 line. I still think Leia is the star of the wave, especially since Hasbro did a good job, in my opinion, on the printing of the face and the head sculpt. And with that, I really do end up liking this wave, even though it's definitely not the best selection in general. Moloch is still a pretty good figure, even though he's not as articulated as some other figures. And it is nice to see an easier way to get Snoke for those who don't have the large BB-8 playset. I got all three figures from Hasbrotoyshop, and it's actually released there rather fast compared to what I've seen with some of the earlier years. So they are actually still available, I think, for order on Hasbrotoyshop, but I think it's just a pre-order at the moment. So your best bet is to probably just check out in the store, since I heard up to this point there is a lot of sightings of this wave. So your best bet is to probably just check in stores at this point, or maybe go online. Anyways, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and check out Hero Club and Hirotaku. Also check out Twitter, Darkon633, and also on Instagram under Darkon633 as well. Please check the little bell at the bottom of the screen, and please check down the other channels down below. I'll be back with more Star Wars reviews, but for now, I'll be seeing you later, YouTube. Bye.